welcome to the Careers in Geek Fashion panel for Comic-Con at Home. I'm so glad that we're able to virtually get together for this panel and discuss geek fashion and the different ways you can work in the industry, especially since it's an industry that has grown so much in recent years. I'm Lisa Granshaw, the founder of Geekfold and associate editor at Backstage, and I'll be moderating the panel today. We have a wonderful group of panelists that have come together from all over the country to discuss their work. And so let's get right into it. And why don't you guys kind of start by just introducing yourselves, explain who you are, where you work, and what your position is.
I'll start. My name is Dan Matson. I am the publicist for Spaha, which is a STEAM-themed fashion company, science, technology, education, art, and math. I handle publicity for the company, which was founded 5 years ago by Jaya Iyer, who used to be with Think Geek as a buyer. And prior to working for Svaha, which I've only been on board with them for about 4 or 5 months now, I handled all of the PR for Ashley Eckstein's Her Universe and helped Ashley launch that, I guess, 10 years ago now. So that's who I am, and looking forward to being on this panel.
Great. I'm Jeff Trexler. I am an attorney and associate director of the Fashion Law Institute.
I'm Dan Richard. I'm the technical director for Development Plus Inc. We're a white label manufacturing company that deals in geek and pop culture merchandise, and we are the license holder for the Bethesda Gear Store.
I'm Rosa Menendez. I do hair and makeup in the esports industry, specifically with my team, Esports Makeup.
Awesome. All right. Well, so before we jump into kind of getting specific about your current positions and what you do, I'm curious, can you tell us a little bit about what interested you most in pursuing your career area in the first place, and when your work first kind of intersected with your geeky interests?
I'll just briefly jump in and just say my geek interest started way back when I was very young. Always interested in things like Star Trek and Star Wars, and I launched my own business at 18 years old, running the official fan clubs for each of those franchises. Did a whole lot of merchandising around them, started 2 magazines, and as a result of that, came into contact with a wonderful lady by the name of Andrea Hine, who used to be the head of licensing at Paramount. And she introduced me to Ashley Eckstein. At the time, Ashley was just thinking about launching Her Universe. And I was introduced to Ashley and came on board really more or less. I've always been a consultant in all of these roles I've played to help her launch the company and reach out to all of the fan bases through the fashions that Ashley was launching. That's really how I got into the whole fashion industry, was my introduction to Ashley and working with her in Her Universe, and it's been a amazing ride.
Rosa, do you want to tell us?
Yeah, my story is definitely a little longer one. I've been a gamer and a geek my whole life. You know, I grew up on the animated series Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man. So I was into comic books since I can remember. Gaming shortly followed, and also being into film because geeks got Star Wars and Star Trek and all these awesome horror films. I pursued makeup artistry, thinking I was going to get to work on these great blockbusters. And in 2013, BlizzCon found me. And my career just went whoop. Nope. I found my tribe. I don't want to work in film anymore. I want to work in gaming. I want to work with like-minded individuals that are fans and professionals that are building up this epic industry. And that's just kind of where I've lived for the last 7 years now.
I got started in 2013 as a web developer. I was hired on in a small startup company that was trying to change the way licensed video game merchandise was sold online, and I sort of fell into it by accident. I was looking for a job in the e-commerce industry and went to go work on a small little store called the Bioware store, and it grew from there to opportunities with Bethesda, Gearbox, IDOS, Halo, EA, PVZ. The list goes on. And over the years, the company was called Treehouse Brand Stores. We were acquired by ThinkGeek. ThinkGeek got acquired by GameStop, and now I work for another small startup company trying to continue on the good work we've been doing since 2013.
Great. And I think like so many people here, I've been interested in things related to geek culture as far back as I can remember. I think I know the first word I remember reading was the word Batman in the title, in the opening credits of the Batman 1960 TV show during its original run. But what drew me into what I'm doing now is a lot of it was intellectual property and people who create wanting to have not just express themselves in the work, but also use it as a way to find meaning in the work and economic development, economic enhancement. So I was writing about the Siegel and Schuster lawsuits, Jack Kirby lawsuits, other lawsuits. Finally, in the mid 2000s, that connected me with a lot of people in the geek community, connected my legal work with them. And then also, I have to say, with regard to fashion, I got involved with the Fashion Institute with its founding in 2010. But it was when I met Dan and Ashley and saw what they were doing with Her Universe and the Her Universe fashion show that I thought there is something truly special going on here with fashion and geek culture. It's with it everywhere now, and so many entrepreneurs moving into the space. I think it's hard to imagine, I think for many who are in it now, just how revolutionary it was and how special it was to do this and to create this. And it's been my pleasure for the years since then to work with people in the space, working in geek fashion with licensing and making sure they're doing intellectual property clearances, contracts. And it extends into so many things now: comics, movies, and of course, like my background, gaming. From Pokemon to anything where clothes are an integral part of the game, or something that's worn by people who are fans of the game.
Great.
Oh, and I just wanted to say, my geekdom is everywhere. So I've been a nerd since the beginning.
Yes, I love the backgrounds revealing for the virtual panels, everyone's geekiness a little bit. But all right, so let's dive into your positions and what you do. If in case someone's not sure exactly what each of your roles entails, can you kind of walk us through what you do in your positions and maybe what a work day is like for you? Jeff, do you want to start us off?
Sure. A lawyer's work day, there are a couple aspects of it. One, of course, it's a lot of you're doing your research and making sure you're up to date with the law. You're trying to keep current with trends in popular culture to think about what their legal needs are, where people are making mistakes and maybe perhaps stepping on landmines and helping them avoid those landmines. And a lot of it is answering your virtual bat phone. Through any day, you're getting emails from people, phone calls, texts from people to help them with various issues. And that could be anything from, say, a licensing contract. They might want to figure out how they can meet expectations in terms of monitoring their supply chain, finding somebody to manufacture their clothing. Somebody's infringing on their clothing. Somebody wants to have a startup and they want to get a license from a company. There are all sorts, or their own IP is being infringed. So there are a number of different ways that a lawyer can get involved in geek culture. It's incredibly rewarding.
I as far as my role as a publicist on Svaha, my job generally involves writing marketing materials, doing research on which publications, which websites might be good to pitch stories to try to get articles about Svaha published. I'm also writing blogs for Svaha and looking at materials that Jaya presents to me and how best to utilize that in marketing materials. Been working on an electronic press kit for Svaha, and there's going to be other roles that'll come along because this is a new relationship that I've got with Svaha at the moment. if I were to go back to Her Universe, I handled a lot of different roles for Ashley and Her Universe. All of what I just said, I did for that as well. But I also worked social media for Ashley, both on Facebook and Twitter with the Her Universe accounts. And then big projects were working on the Her Universe fashion show at San Diego Comic-Con, which unfortunately we're all going to miss this year. That has been a pioneering event, as Jeff well knows. That was a huge task. Would start generally in March or April and work on all of the PR and marketing materials, press releases for that. And it's the same thing with Saha today. I mean, I still write press releases, work on marketing materials. My day is different each day. It depends on how much work I have kind of put into my lap. But overall, my role with Svaha is very similar to what I did with Her Universe as well.
My day-to-day, I guess, is probably the most different out of everyone's, because it's very reliant on whether or not I'm on a production or not. If I'm not on a production, I'm watching other esports. I'm keeping up to tabs on different personalities and different talent, seeing who's coming in and out of the space. What are their looks like? Does this girl tend to wear more natural makeup and hair, or does she like more of a smoky look? Like small details like that are more my behind the scenes. On days off, I started streaming. We're currently raising money for the Trevor Project and the Bell Project. On a production day, it's like wake up way too early, grab a cup of coffee by the gallon if possible, and like chug that on the way to work. And then I'm just in constant go mode. I'm on my feet. I'm running around. I'm trying to convince the players, I promise you, I'm going to make you look. No, it's not a lot of makeup. No, you're not going to wear red lipstick. Do you want red lipstick? No. Okay. Please let me cover that pimple. And then the talent going, God, yes, you're here. Dark circles, cover it all. So yeah, my day-to-day is a little different, a little bit more on the running around on a production site than anything else. But it's fun.
Rosa, I wish I could hire you for my morning Zoom calls just to clean up all the bags under my eyes, and I would be so down for red lipstick. Oh,
You have no idea how I woke up at 12:15 and I went, oh, yeah! And then just like, Beanie, this works. I was like, how can I be the makeup artist and I look like crap? This doesn't work.
So I like to tell people that I'm a problem solver. Most online retail companies that are our size, that run things like the gear store, where we run very lean. So I'm the only technical person on a team of about 12 people. I do everything from manage customer service workflows, the front end of the website, the back end of the website, training people how to use the dozen microsystems that have to work in unison to take in orders, do fulfillment. We recently opened up our own fulfillment center this year. So in the beginning of the year, I was helping set up shelves and hook technology up to make a warehouse work. I manage a team of like a contract company for development, so I write a lot of documentation, yeah, so my day is like a controlled descent into chaos and a lot of coffee.
I'm hearing a lot about coffee, which I agree with. Lots of that helps in the workday.
Also, from working from home, the coffee is way better.
Yes. Agreed. Also,
I got a pour over system, and it's the best thing I could have done for myself during quarantine, guys.
Yeah. I'm also a coffee drinker, I gotta admit.
Key for Geek Fashion Careers here. Well, so for your roles then, someone's, hearing to all of us talk, they're really interested in pursuing your career path. What would you kind of advise them to look into in regards to the experience and education they would need to pursue any of your type of roles?
I love this question. This is my favorite question. There is no one path. And I would say find areas where help is needed. when folks look at the fashion and nerd merch industry, everything that's customer facing is like product design or photography or being the spokesperson for that brand. And there are vast amounts of opportunity in operations, in transportation, understanding how objects move across the country and being able to make that digestible for companies and people who want to distribute merchandise, customer service and customer experience, being able to communicate with people, community management and understanding how to de-escalate situations, or being able to aggregate through a lot of information coming in at a company and making that valuable. Programming is a good place because you can solve a lot of problems by building your own technology. The opportunities in that like isn't really as sexy as other stuff kind of work, far beyond what I think people are currently applying for. And I would like to help anyone who's interested in getting their foot in the door in the fashion industry find those opportunities at companies, because a lot of times they're not listed as, we need a customer service person for the merch channel, or we need someone that can do merchandising for the website. I've stumbled into a lot of opportunities I had no idea that were attached to an e-commerce experience, because they were things like, we need someone who understands Facebook marketing, and it's specifically for a merch channel. So finding those things and in learning how to look for them, or even ask, like say like, oh, it looks like this area of your experience is deficient. Maybe I can help with that. And that either gets you in the foot in the door as a contractor, or could potentially lead to a job.
On my end, Lisa, I kind of, like Dan said, I kind of stumbled into a lot of the opportunities I've had through the geek fashion industry. I started, as I said earlier, I started my own business, worked my way up. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I mean, that's a hard way to get going in this world. Certainly, getting a college degree, in communications or journalism or public relations for somebody young wanting to get started, that would probably be the safest way to get into doing the PR like what I'm doing now. But making connections, meeting people. As I said, I kind of got through the back door after building my business. Got to be introduced to Ashley, and that set up opportunities with Her Universe. It was as a result of Her Universe that I met Jaya, and I'm on board now with her and Svaha. So there's a lot of ways to get into this world, but probably the most sure way is to go to school, get a degree in one of the areas that I expressed a little earlier, and then see who might be out there that's looking for somebody in the marketing PR fields. I know several people, in fact, who that I worked with in the beginning of Her Universe that have now moved on to other roles. One who is now working in PR at Lucasfilm, and she had gone to college studying PR and marketing. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and you just have to pick which way is the best for you. I came through the back door and got lucky, quite frankly.
Lucky with a lot of hard work and professionalism. I mean,
well, I would agree with that, Jeff. I would agree with that, definitely.
And that's absolutely key, because so many of us, we start as fans in this. And I think one of the keys to the success, of people here and a number of people in the industry is that we're able to be both fans and professionals and provide. I love the word what Dan was talking about with problem solving, because there's so many people in this business. They have a lot of people telling them how wonderful they are and how much they love their work, but they don't have a lot of people helping them solve problems day to day, from legal problems, business problems, negotiation problems. And the more you can be useful to somebody the more valuable they will find you and the more they will want you to be a part of what they are doing, whether it's marketing, law, or other aspects of the business. You know, for a lawyer, there are two, well, actually for somebody who's interested in law, and I want to make be very specific about that. There are two paths. One, you can go to school, get a law degree, or I guess in California you can apprentice like Kim Kardashian is doing, and that's a very traditional way of doing it. And then you can become a lawyer. Many people who get into the in-house counsel positions, they'll have worked in a law firm, not doing geek culture stuff, but they'll develop skills that are valuable to major companies, and they'll get hired. And then others work with very small companies to start, and then they grow with those companies. There are lots of different ways to get in. But one thing that many people do not realize is there are a number of positions with a legal component, licensing, compliance, customs and trade, you name it, that typically do not hire lawyers. And they often hire non-lawyers with a legal background or legal knowledge. So, for example, we run a fashion law boot camp, and we have a master's degree for fashion professionals and for non-lawyers who want to learn they want a legal education to help boost their career prospects and help them better work in their job. And people have found all sorts of interesting positions there. So think about, maybe you want to be a lawyer, maybe you don't want to be a lawyer and just want some legal knowledge. There are multiple ways to get into this.
For hair and makeup, it's definitely go to school. It starts with get training, especially hair. In all 50 states, you cannot touch a single strand of hair without being state licensed. If you then move from, let's say, New York to California, you must transfer your license and retake a portion of the test just to show, yeah, I'm up to date with laws in both states. With makeup, it's training. You don't need to be licensed to be a makeup artist. You can be a self-taught makeup artist. A lot of influencers are. A lot of influencers you see on Instagram, on YouTube, are not professional makeup artists. They are just people that learned their face, learned that if I pick up this brush and put it to that color and put it here, it looks good. Let me see what happens when I do it with all these other colors. And that's the beauty about makeup, is that you can grab a wipe and take it off and then do it all over again. You can start fresh every single time. So when people come up to me and they're like, but Rose, I suck at makeup. I'm like, no, you don't. You just need to grab a wipe and start over every time. You need to catch your mistake. So with makeup, I would definitely say, just start playing with it at home. You don't need the best products, although the best products will definitely help the quality of the finished look. But you don't need the best products to start teaching yourself. You need to just understand a face. You need to understand the basic anatomy of the face, the way muscles and the way skin works. And from that, you can start going, oh, okay, this is how these things translate together. Another really important thing why I would prefer that makeup artist get training is sanitation, especially in today's world. Sanitation is, for me, the biggest thing. If I see any one of my assistants dip a brush and put product on the back of their hand, they're immediately pulled to the side and like, no, we don't. You have germs here. You have bacteria here. You may have clean hands, but you did not sterilize your hands and you did not thoroughly disinfect your hands. So let's not do that. Let's put it on a safe place where we can wipe it down and we can clean it. And as far as then being a makeup artist or hairstylist and jumping into esports or geek fashion or working on film, I would say start calling up student filmmakers, start calling up student photographers, start calling cosplayers, models, anyone that you think could use a makeup artist. If you see a company online and they're only posting photos of their t-shirts and you really like this company, call and be like, hey, would it be okay if we took some of your products and we got a model and we shot it? Would you be interested in using those photographs? Yes, no, okay, we'll move on to the next company. Like they're like everyone else has said, there's so many bits and pieces and moving parts to our industry that you kind of need to find your own path almost. There's no certain this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, and step 4, you've made it. It doesn't quite work like that. You have to kind of figure out, okay, well, here's Rosa talking. I know Rosa and Lorena both work in esports. Let me find them on Instagram. Let me find them on Twitter. Let me ask them. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to the people whose job you want. Now, don't come saying I'm coming for your job, because we're all going to say the same thing. 1v1 me. I'm not putting this down easily. On the flip side, that person may go, you want to intern? You want to learn? You want to shadow me? I have a gig coming up next week.
Yeah.
Come watch me work.
Rosie, you mentioned 2 really good things that I think are often forgotten in this whole process is the communication piece, the soft skills. Being able to identify a problem, and however you acquire the skills that are marketable in these industries, you have to be able to communicate your value to someone who may not know how to solve that problem or understand really high level technical stuff. So those soft skills, and also being able to approach someone that you look up to as a potential, like, I want to go work for this person, and understanding how to approach them, or going to someone you're a fan of and how to kindly and appropriately engage with that person.
Right.
Those soft skills are difficult to develop, and they often get overlooked. And so I don't have a good guide for that other than to practice. And the advice I got very early on in my career from someone who took me aside at a convention was like, Dan, listen more than you speak. Be genuinely interested in what people are telling you, and only talk about yourself when you are asked. And that has served me so well in those environments when you're at a convention and it's high stress and you're working and people want your attention, or you want their attention. So yeah, good information.
That's good advice, Dan. That's very good advice.
Another big thing for me is one of those, is this what you want to do? Is this what I have a 13-year-old. I have this conversation with him all the time. He wants to be a musician. He's like, Mom, you're doing gaming stuff. I'll play some games. That's my involvement. But I tell him, is this what you want to do? Live it, breathe it. Every part of you needs to consume it. Because if this is genuinely something you want, then you're watching all the shows that's about it. I've been a makeup artist for 12 years. I still watch all the ridiculous drama-filled reality shows, because guess what? Those are the influencers of today's world. I need to see what looks are probably going to become trending next. What's happening? What products are they pushing? What products are my clients going to want to use? I have to look at all the silly. There's a show called Glow Up on Netflix. I watch that religiously because they're a professional makeup artist talking to training makeup artists on, this is what you need to do to be a professional. And yes, I may be a professional makeup artist, but I forget things. Everybody does. And then you get that little reminder of, hey, don't forget, this is our standard. And you're like, oh God, I totally been slipping up on that one. Let me refresh that, just constantly consume information about what your goals are. And I feel like so many people just decide, well, I want to do this because it looks cool. All right, well, do your research. Figure out, is it really cool? Is it really meant for you? Dive deep into it. If we can dive deep into what time Batman's parents died, which is 10:47 p.m., by the way, you can dive deep into your life goals. Like, what, they go hand in hand. And believe it or not, that 10:47 p.m. information has done me good when talking to a producer that had a Batman tattoo. I got a lot of jobs from that guy.
Very impressive. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I love that though, because I do think it's important to seek out and I think as fans too, we do this naturally, just consuming so much of what you want to work with, but then also looking for professionals you can ask questions to, and also networking in those aspects. And I know for me, social media has been a great way to discover people and engage in conversations in the geek community, and also conventions and just meeting people and saying hi. And yeah, trying not to, it does take practice, like Dan said, trying not to be too nervous and go up to people and start a conversation and ask someone for advice. I mean, worst that can happen is they say no, and then you move on to the next person. But yeah.
Very true. Very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
As a very, very behind the scenes guy, I am so flattered when someone knows who I am and they ask questions that I will literally talk. Like, if you want me to talk, I will talk at length forever until you're like, thank you, I've had enough. So it's definitely a way to get the foot in the door, is just ask. And yeah.
Yeah. And well, so Rosa, you brought up a good point too about just our current situation, which I do want to touch on. Obviously, geek fashion, the fashion industry, the world has been impacted by what's going on with the coronavirus right now. And so can you guys tell us a little bit about how your work is being impacted by what's happening?
My work has been impacted because right now a lot of people are really focusing on stories about the coronavirus and some of the troubles happening in the nation right now. So, you know, finding people who want to do stories about geek fashion is not as easy right now. I work from home, so as far as that goes, that hasn't really been affected. But you know, some of the product, and for instance, that that Svaha has, I mean, we have to take pre-orders for it because the manufacturing company is been put on hold as a result of the coronavirus. So, you know, you can go out and market and promote certain products, but you have to let people know that they're not going to be available right now. They might ship in October. So in my role, it has definitely been affected by what's happening with the coronavirus right now.
Well, I mean, my job involves me literally touching another human being. So I'm not working right now, to say the very least. It sucks. But you know, as a team, we have explored other avenues. We have used the little bit of following that we do have from esports, and we started streaming, and we're not really using the platform as a way to necessarily make money, but with the civil unrest that's happening in our country right now, around the world really, and it being Pride Month, we just started deciding, let's make this a fundraising situation. Let's try to do something positive in our really bleak time. But in the meantime, I've been doing what every makeup artist, I believe, should do: study your craft, keep learning, keep educating yourself, get updated knowledge on especially sanitation. There are so many free courses online right now on how to be safe on set, on how to be safe with your clients, and how to protect yourself. Because ultimately, the client may run into you, but you're the one that's running into 30, 40 people on average. So it's about taking this time to continue training and continue like learning as a makeup artist, and you know, doing the little bit that I can to raise some funds for some pretty awesome organizations, and supporting all the small businesses that I love. Like, go do the pre-orders if that's the only option and that's the only way you can support them. Do that.
It's been a turbulent time for the fashion industry generally, and that it's also affected geek fashion. It's, you know, you've been talking about sanitation. There are some places where, as businesses are reopening, those sanitation standards, standards for hygiene, are actually part of the conditions for reopening. You know, for whether you are, how a makeup store, you know, should run, and in terms of samples, or steaming clothes, or setting them aside, quarantining them when people try them on in a dressing room, and how many people can be in a dressing room. So that's part of it. But a big part of it for the past few months has been dealing with this shutdown. And for what's been getting a lot of press are the boutiques shutting down. But in our business, so many people have had this symbiotic relationship with conventions. So much of what they've been doing in terms of their work has been tied to conventions. And that market has dried up. I mean, people are not going there. And so they're stuck with orders they may not be able to sell, or maybe their providers aren't able to ship them certain things. There's a chain that has been disrupted, and dealing with those contracts has been a difficult issue. There's a principle called force majeure that sometimes applies, doesn't apply, based on whether how you word your contract, whether you can terminate things or whether it can be terminated on you, depending on how this provision is written in the contract. So and negotiating things, even when, say, technically you say you can't get out of a deal or somebody can get out of the deal with you, negotiating with a person to come up with a new deal that reflects current conditions as opposed to what the conditions were back in February, January, December. It's been a very dynamic time, and being able to be flexible, to improvise, be creative, come up with creative, mutually beneficial solutions has been key. Working with governments to develop hygiene standards that are realistic has also been part of the work of people with legal training. So it's good, especially good if you're in bankruptcy. There have been a lot of people in fashion going through that. So there's a lot of work, but it requires sort of a heightened sense of the possible in drastically changed conditions.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Go ahead. I was just going to add one thing that Zvaha has done during this whole coronavirus crisis is that we raised money and shipped 25,000 N95 masks to hospitals around the country that needed them. So that was one way that Zvaha could help out, and Jaya did a great job of ensuring that we could raise the money and get the masks sent to all of these hospitals, medical clinics that really needed them. So just wanted to add that. Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries at all. So with COVID-19, the political climate in the United States, so many things are happening all at once that have caused, like everyone has expressed, entire industries to stop and pivot on a dime. And some of the things that we are seeing on the very, very back end is transportation networks. So mailing things, whether domestically or internationally, is slow, and it's busier than the busiest Christmas year ever. So moving things around the world has become very, very difficult because no one knows how to do things safely, right? We're all figuring it out as time goes on. The entire video game industry is now working from home, and they're adapting to that. So product launches and lines that we had planned 2-3 years in advance are getting shifted around. And also, like, manufacturing companies have had to slow down and pivot because they can't work in tight conditions. And with things that aren't manufactured domestically, tariffs and new laws and things happening all at the same time. So you're juggling 1,000 balls all at once, and it's really hard to predict the future right now. Geek merchandise, in my opinion, is a luxury good. And so when the world is at turmoil and people are asked to stay home, there's this immediate reaction of, I want to feel good, I want to feel better, let me buy things that make me feel good. My worry from a perspective of data, over time, people will start having to worry about things like necessities. And so how will this industry completely change what it considers valuable and what it considers worth creating when there are more important concerns than licensed merchandise to worry about? So I see that stuff over the horizon, and my fear is people's livelihoods and their ability to provide for themselves are at stake, far beyond just, are things delayed, and will I be able to play with the thing that I was looking forward to? You mentioned pre-orders. Whole industries are moving to that model now, where before that wasn't a thing that people liked because it's difficult to manage. And so having to make decisions, like we had a plan going into February, right? And then transitioning into March, it was like, we know, when I say we, it's like any e-commerce company knows what they're doing years into the future. And so you can take all that work, all that time, all that effort, all that investment, and the day everything stopped, all of that went into the garbage, and we have to figure it out from scratch in a world that's changing by the minute. And it's really scary. It's really scary. So we try to do our day-to-day and continue on, like, not as if nothing has happened, but we have to run operations and do business, and then also figure out how do we appropriately navigate all of these things that are coming at us, so that we can take care of ourselves, so that we can take care of our employees, so that, like, there's some sense of normalcy once the world hopefully calms down, and I really hope it does calm down soon.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah, I think you all brought up excellent points and have offered some great advice throughout this entire panel. And before we close, I would just quickly love to get from each of you, if there's one last piece of advice you would say to someone who wants to pursue a career in your area in geek fashion, what would you tell them?
For me, I would say persistence, don't give up. If your passion is fashion, stay with it, find ways to get involved in the field, and try to get out there and meet people, communicate through social media. Just don't give up, because you know, I when I started out, I had a lot of people who said, you know, you can't do that. You'll never be able to make a living doing that. And I have. And so I just want to tell people to be persistent, believe in themselves, and don't give up.
I guess my final words would be to add on to the not give up, because that's crucial. As a makeup artist, you'll start off for free, then you'll maybe get $50, then maybe one day you'll get $100 for the day, to the point where all of a sudden your rate jumped and you're making $500 to $700 for like 3 hours of work, and you're like, whoa, oh, I did it. So don't give up is definitely an important one. I would like to add on, be professional. Be professional. We work very intimately with people. That doesn't mean you have to be intimate with that person. I think I preached a lot about this last Comic-Con too, where I was like, please stop flirting with your clients, because I see it. I see it every time. I see it every day. I see it everywhere. Oh, how'd you get this job? Oh, I'm dating the producer. What? How'd that happen? Oh, I knew I'd get work. What? No. Stop it. Bad. If you're thinking about it, no. Call me and be like, hey, I need work. This seems like my only option. I'll be like, no, these are your other options. So be professional. Just be professional. You will be respected so much more once you've made it. You will be admired by your peers, by people that are coming up, and you will be setting a good example for every makeup artist and hairstylist from here until forever. It's tough. It's not easy. Rely on fellow makeup artists. Do you have another makeup artist that's at your same level? Stay close to them. When they need work, offer them work if you have it. Because when they have work, they're going to offer it back to you. So be professional, make friends, and do not give up.
Be professional, mix your professionalism with your fanaticism, put them together, you've got it. You've got a winning combination.
That's the one.
My advice would be approach everything with kindness and empathy. And that's really it. I think whether you're a fan or a person in this business, you can smell inauthenticity. And when you approach things with empathy and kindness and a genuine sense of wanting to make the world a better place, or add joy to the world, so to say, in a time where joy is much needed, that shines above everything else. So yeah, approach everything with kindness and empathy.
And one thing I would recommend for people who want to get into fashion or geek fashion is, and you from a legal background, is find creativity in your legal work. So many people go into think they want to go into fashion and law, or think they want to go into geek fashion because they don't really like the law, but fashion and geek culture are very creative and they love it, and they figure it's a way to make up for doing something they don't really like. Well, if you don't really like the law, you'll find that you're not going to study it as much, you're not going to understand it, you're not going to think of creative solutions to the problems that people have, but they need creative approaches to make things happen. And you're just not going to be good. You're not going to be a help to people, and they're not going to want to hire you. But if you view the law as a sphere where you can be creative and helping creatives, it will give you an edge over people who are pursuing a legal career in fashion or in geek fashion or gaming because they really hate what they do.
All right, well, thank you all so much for joining me to be on this panel. You guys are great. and offered a lot of great advice today. Thank all of you for watching and joining us, and to Comic-Con for having us as part of their programming as we continue to celebrate the spirit of the convention virtually. And we hope you'll join us next time.